Hey Eurovision fans, it's time for another Eurovision news update where I give you all of the latest news happening in the Eurovision 2025 season. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the departure of the controversial Norwegian head of delegation, Stig Karlsen. I'm going to give you some juicy stats about the participation fees, which could help us understand who might be in and who might be out. And we'll also talk about the changes to Melodifestivalen and a lot more. So let's kiki. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. Okay, very quickly before we begin, in my last video I did a partnership with FlexiSpot. It's their 8th anniversary, so I said I would give them a quick shout out. They're doing some special deals for their birthday. There's a couple of days left on that, so definitely go check that out. Okay, so first up we've got some quick news about the host city announcement. Originally they said it was going to be on August 31st. They've pushed that back to August 30th for some reason, and they put it at a more manageable time. I think the original time was midnight. Now it's going to be 10 a.m. CET. So I'm hopefully releasing this video on the 29th of August, which means it's going to be tomorrow morning. It's going to be between Basel and Geneva. How do you pronounce Basel?
Basel.
It's going to be between Basel and Geneva. Is Basel right or is it Basel?
Basel.
It's really hard to tell who's going to win because I remember for Eurovision 2023 when it was between Glasgow and Liverpool, everybody was convinced that it was going to be Glasgow, but then behind the scenes, Liverpool have put forward this incredible package. So really, we don't get to see what is submitted in the application bids. We have very little information. We do know that Geneva are putting forward 30 million Swiss francs, which is an absolute ton of money. Maybe Basel are doing the same as well, who knows? But yeah, my gut is it's going to be Geneva because of the amount of money that they're throwing at the EBU. I think the EBU wants someone to throw money at them right now. But yeah, we're going to find out real soon. That announcement is coming tomorrow. Speaking of August 30th, we have this quite cryptic message from Baby Lasagna that he posted on his, I think this is Instagram, saying RIP Baby Lasagna 30/08/2024. Very mystical. What can it mean? I don't know. I'm guessing that he's changing his name. Maybe he doesn't want to be called Baby Lasagna anymore and he's going to change his name to Marco. But weird that he chose the same day that the host city is announced. Maybe he isn't aware that the host city is being announced at the same time. Or maybe like it's the end of his Eurovision era. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Lots of stuff happening tomorrow. Okay, let's go to one of our main stories, and that is that Stig Karlsen, the Norwegian head of delegation, is out. So I actually did an episode last year reviewing an interview he did where he was basically bitching about Denmark. But anyway, he's been quite controversial. Some people also appreciating him though, for example, calling out the EBU after Eurovision 2024 and telling them to stop blaming delegations and kind of own up to their own mistakes as well. So he's kind of outspoken. Some people like that, some people don't like it so much. And also he's been pushing quite hard that he wants the jury televote split to change. He wants it to be 60% televote, 40% jury, which would be an absolute statistical nightmare. If you are one of those pro televote people, right now it's a 1-to-1 ratio. Make it 1-to-2 ratio, which is 33%, 66%, or 1-to-3 ratio, which is 25-75, because then you can just multiply the points. If you do anything else, you're getting into fractions and dividing numbers and messiness, and people will absolutely switch off. I still want it 1-to-1. I think that's what works. Anyway, Stig was very controversial for that. He's been the Norwegian head of delegation for 10 years. He's got them 8 qualifications in a row. They didn't qualify with Agneta, so 17, 18, 19, no 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 7 qualifications in a row. 5th place with Queen of Kings, 6th place with Kaino. So yeah, he's done pretty well. Definitely one of the more successful head delegations. It does help that he's got an amazing national final, which he's the head of. So he's not just the head of delegation, he's also the head of MGP. So they're going to have to find a new person. I think his contract ends on October 1st. The reason he's leaving, purportedly, we have to assume it's the truth, is that he's going to become the social media manager. Well, he's handling media and communications, so social media management for Norway's first female astronaut. In fairness, that actually sounds like a really cool job. Very random, very like something you picked out of a hat. I'm not surprised that that was a job that tempted. He's been doing Eurovision for 10 years. I say you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is getting a little bit samey. I want to do something different. Interesting to see now who's going to replace him. Are they going to pick someone who's a little bit less controversial? Is that person going to change MGP? He was also controversial because he brought auto-tune into MGP. That was the other super controversial thing. Is his replacement going to keep that up, or are they going to change things? I think there are going to be a lot of people vying for that role because Eurovision Norway is taken really, really seriously. MGP is a great show, and there's lots of people who are kind of in the MGP brand, people who are involved with it every single year. Whoever they pick is going to know MGP and the contest really well, so I think they're going to fill those shoes pretty well. Okay, next up we have news that Cyprus might have already chosen their artist. So a site called Aidices, sorry for the pronunciation, reports that the Cypriot national broadcaster RIK have already picked who's going to Eurovision 2025, and it is a male artist of Cypriot background. So recently they've been sending kind of more diaspora, Andrew Lambrew, who's from Australia, and then Stig Karlsen, who's from Australia as well. So I think maybe there was a little bit of grumbling about that, because I believe they mentioned that this year they were going to look for someone who's actually based in Cyprus. So they've chosen a guy, apparently a young man of Cypriot origin with very good musical studies, even abroad. I do remember that last year, I think Stig Karlsen was either the first or the second announced. Musti was very early as well. So it was either Musti or Celia who was first. Cyprus doing the same things last year, announcing early, trying to get everything really, really well prepared. Exciting to know that Eurovision 2025 is already beginning. We already have somebody who is sitting at home with their mouth zipped closed, dying to tell everybody that they are going to be going to Geneva or Basel. Now the interesting thing about this is that they've actually already chosen the song as well, really early, which I have to admit I find kind of reassuring, because generally when it's like more last minute, you know, when countries are extending their submission period, it's kind of alarm bells like, oh crap, they've got nothing good. Whereas this, on the flip side, they've already got a song. That sounds to me like they found something pretty decent. They're like, yeah, we've got our song already. This is the standout. Let's just keep that. Or maybe they came as a package. Maybe this artist had their own song, or there was just a good pairing. That gives me a lot of hope that Cyprus can maybe do something a little bit special this year. They've been qualifying amazingly recently. 8 of the last 9 years, Andrew Mackey was the only one who didn't. But when they get to the final, their results, other than Eleni Ferrer, obviously came second, 22nd, 21st, 21st, 13th, 16th, 12th, 15th. So very much in the middle of that table. Now obviously they're kind of getting 24 free points from Greece, which is part of the reason that they're kind of in the middle as opposed to more down the bottom. A little bit kind of making up the numbers, maybe just lacking a little bit of wow impact and taking a big risk. And they do send safer stuff, which is good for qualifying and coming mid-table. But if you want to hit the top, you're going to have to take a little bit of a risk, which means that you might not qualify sometimes. This sounds to me like more the same. It sounds to me like a song that's going to qualify and come mid-table. Who knows, maybe this could be Cyprus getting their first victory in Eurovision ever. Okay, let's go to an update on the Netherlands. Still no confirmation yet on whether they are going to be participating or not. Avrotros have said that they are not going to take action and sue the EBU, so I suppose that's good. This is like very hard to find good news about the Netherlands in Eurovision right now. Yeah, I'm just looking on Reddit for any further news from Joost about the whole situation, and I can't find anything. So at this point in time, no real new developments. One thing I'll say is that I really noticed in my last video was in the comments, and just in general about this whole situation, is how pissed off Dutch Eurovision fans are, like really pissed off. So I do hope that the EBU realizes that, because I feel like right now they're trying to mend things with Avrotros behind the scenes. They're trying to like mend those bridges. But I do hope they realize they actually need to mend things with Dutch Eurofans as well, and the Dutch public. A lot of the Dutch Eurofans are saying that they want to withdraw next year, and these are Eurofans. So imagine how the Dutch general public are. They're probably like, F this completely. So I hope the EBU realizes that they're going to have to mend that as well. They're going to have to do something to unpiss off all of the Dutch people who are super pissed off. Because even if Avrotros and EBU do heal things, if the public don't want Avrotros to go, Avrotros can't just like unilaterally go without public support. They're going to look like chumps. Okay, let's talk about the new format for Melodifestivalen. If you don't remember last year was an absolute another shit show. What a stupid disaster. Basically, you had the normal thing where 2 people went directly to final, and then you had 3rd and 4th place who went into this final chance round. In previous years, the songs would perform again and they go into head-to-head. They came up with this new system where nobody performed a second time, and the final chance round was tagged onto the end of the 5th heat. And then all 10 of them were basically shown a small clip, and then everyone voted. And what a surprise that the 2 songs that had just been performed that night were the 2 that qualified, even though in my opinion they were not the strongest at all. We had big favorites like Fruk and Snus and Scarlet who were eliminated, and you can see there's a really clear correlation here that the older the song was, generally the worse it did. No massive surprise, recency bias. People had just seen the songs from Heat 5. They hadn't seen the songs from Heat 1 4 or 5 weeks. They got to see a tiny clip. So stupid. I don't know who came up with this system or who okayed it. Really predictably would not work. So anyway, they obviously realized this was a huge mistake and they've gotten rid of it. Okay, so the new format is not much better, I've got to be honest. There's going to be 5 heats again. The first place and second place song from all 5 heats go straight to the final, so that's 10 places in the final. All the third places from the 5 semi-finals, so that's 5 in total. The one that has the best score will also go through, so the best ranked third place person also goes through to the final. That's the 11th finalist. And then the final finalist will be between the remaining 4 third placers. So there'll be a vote at that moment. Whoever gets the most votes will go through. It's going to be whoever is from Heat 5. Or if the Heat 5 person already went through, it'll be Heat number 4. Again, really stupid. They haven't addressed the recency bias unless everyone gets to perform again. But still, there's going to be this feeling if someone just came third in that heat, there's going to be a sense of redemption. Like, we can redeem and save them now, the person that we just had an emotional connection with. Let's see how it goes, but I can already see potential for this to flop as well. But an interesting aspect of it is that 4th place is gone now. So previously 4th place, you still had a chance on Andrew Hansen. Now that's gone. Yeah, it probably makes sense. Like, realistically, if you're coming 4th in the semi-final, what chance are you going to have in the final anyway? Okay, we've got some news about Kazakhstan. They are not going to be returning to Junior Eurovision, which I'm going to assume also means that they are not planning to debut at Adult Eurovision. Kind of get the gist that the EBU want them to do Junior Eurovision lots before they enter Adult Eurovision. And also, in terms of the two, Junior Eurovision suits them more because it's on earlier in the day. So because the time frame, Kazakhstan is a couple hours ahead of Europe. Adult Eurovision is on super late. So I can understand why they don't want to pay a huge participation fee to then have a show that's on at like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning that nobody's going to watch. So Junior Eurovision kind of makes a little bit more sense for them, but they're not in that anyway. Okay, it's time for a jump scare. And that is that Jojo Siwa is threatening to represent Poland at Eurovision 2025. I think this all started because someone left a comment on her in a live stream saying, "Hey Jojo, are you going to represent Poland?" I think her father is Polish, and she jokingly like took it up and did a couple of like meme videos about it, and now she's like running with the joke. Recently reinvented herself as a bad girl. I don't think that tends to fit with the Polish what the Polish generally choose. Anyway, I think this is all just for attention. In the same way that a lot of artists, when they get asked, they like milk it to get as much likes as possible. But yes, theoretically, Jojo Siwa is threatening to come to Eurovision 2025 in Basel or Geneva. Okay, finally, we've got some juicy statistics from Dolphin Dane about participation fees. So this is something that I talked about in the last episode. I was wondering, is there a formula for how they work them out? And he actually crunched the numbers and worked it out because Romania, Ireland, and one other country are pretty open about their fees every single year. And from that, he was able to work out what the formula is. So it appears that the base fee that any country participating has to pay is €72,360. And then on top of that, they have to pay up €5.5 for each 1,000 inhabitants. So this accounts for the fact that larger countries with larger populations can get more advertising revenue. Obviously, you have to pay more to be on German TV than you do to be on San Marino TV. This is really cool stats from Dolphin Dane, who does lots of great Eurovision stats stuff on Twitter. From that, he was able to work out that the base fee for next year is likely going to be between 62,000 and 77,000 euro, and then you have the population fee on top of that. It's not called the population fee. What I'm saying is like there's a fee based on population added onto the base fee. Based on that, Dolphin went through and looked at what this would cost for everyone in the contest. So at the top, we see the top 6. 5 of them are from the big 5: Germany, France, UK, Italy, and Spain. But we can see right at the top, we've got Turkey. Turkey have rebranded recently their name to the Turkish, spending the most. Obviously, their population is the biggest. They've got almost 85 million people. Now, this makes me curious because I know that Russia were offered to become big 5 and they turned it down. They didn't want it. I don't know why. The other thing we can't assume is that this system is the same as it used to be. Maybe they had a different system in the past, and this is just the system from 23 and 22 because that was the data that was used. So we can't make assumptions that it has always been this way. The official reason Turkey gave for leaving was that they didn't like the big 5 and they wanted televote only. obviously because they benefited massively from televoting. I wonder, were they offered Big Five status at any point or not, the same way that Russia were? Very confusing, because if they were, that's obviously the easiest way to remedy the Big Five issue. But yeah, the actual reason that Turkey left was because LGBT presence within Eurovision. So next up in line, you can see our Poland spending between 260 and 300,000. So they would be next in line to Big Five if it expanded into the Big Six. You can also kind of see this is why the EBU tends to give Poland a pretty good running order slot. When I did my running order prediction videos this year, I said Poland wasn't going to get put second in the running order because, again, huge populations, you want as many people tuning into the semifinals and the finals as possible, so you don't want to put the song too early. Countries like Poland, Ukraine, well, I know Ukraine were drawing second in the final this year, but I think there are other reasons for that. Generally, these bigger countries, I think, get given as good a draws as they can, because at the end of the day, they're paying more money to participate, and there's more potential for bigger viewing figures in the final. Look, that's just the way it is. Capitalism, baby. Sorry, that's just what happens in a capitalistic society. At the end of the day, this is a business and they gotta make ends meet. Kazakhstan, you can see there, could potentially be bringing up to 200,000 euros. So there is a big incentive for the EBU to get Kazakhstan in, maybe at some point in the future. Again, for me, the problem with Kazakhstan is the time difference. Showing Eurovision at 1, 2 a.m. is just not particularly feasible. Australia managed with it. They seem to have a little bit more of a die-hard audience than Kazakhstan does. Romania sadly missed. You can see they're pretty high up. Netherlands, another country which unfortunately might not be there next year. Belgium, I didn't realize Belgium's population was so high. Czechia, we're kind of getting into countries with populations of around 10 million at this point. Belgium, Czechia, Portugal, Sweden. Weird to see actually the populations of Serbia, Denmark and Finland are all really similar. And Norway as well. And all having very, very different results in Ireland, actually. You can see kind of population talent pool, roughly paying the same participation fee between 90,000 and 110,000. Very, very different results between all of those countries. Yeah, and we can see all the way down now, right down to the bottom, San Marino paying the least, 62,000 to around 77,000. Now let's look at the countries who are not currently in Eurovision to see what is their barrier to entry, because a lot of countries say that the reason they aren't entering is because they can't afford it. So the first one we see there is, the first one we can see there's Romania. Now that's quite a hefty fee, 170, 180,000. We can also see Hungary between 113 and 135. Bulgaria around 100,000 euro. Now for Bulgaria, that is a big issue. From what I know about Bulgaria, the biggest barrier to them returning is money. Basically, if you got the money, you can find some millionaire who's willing to sponsor you. You can go. You just need to pay your own way. Victoria, I think, had a credit card company sponsor. Christian Kosov had a private millionaire sponsor. So yeah, you got that cash, baby. You can represent Bulgaria. Slovakia, looking at around 100,000. Looks like things are a little bit shady for them in terms of coming back. Bosnia-Herzegovina sitting at around 90,000, but they're having all those issues in terms of the public funding being released to them. They aren't getting paid some of the public funds, and that means that they're bankrupt. And then as we go down, North Macedonia looking at around 72 to 88,000. They're currently participating in Junior Eurovision because it's cheaper. I don't know what Junior Eurovision fees are, but I'm guessing it's much, much less. First of all, because you're getting less TV. Keep in mind, this is 7 hours of TV, so it's pretty good value. Another thing to note here is that this is not the total expense. For example, Blanca Paloma, we know 750,000 euros. So you can see that the participation fee was around 40% of that, and then the rest was travel expenses, costumes, etc., etc. So, you know, there's optional extras that you can pay in. So your participation fee could be 10% of what you spend, it could be 80% of what you spend, depending on how much you're willing to splurge. Again, our final thing is about my next top 10 video coming up, which is going to be on choreography. I've posted that poll on the community section of my channel. These are the results so far. I'm not really revealing any of the country names, not to spoil anything. But if you want to go and vote on that, it is still open. We still have 2 countries who've got 0 points. And then we have 2 countries that are very much out in the lead in terms of choreography, but it's pretty close. So who's entering the top 10 is changing. There's only 10 points difference between 11th and 10th. That's all for today. No new donations on PayPal or Buy Me Coffee, but if you want to support the channel, I'll leave links to you in the description down below. And of course, thank you so much to all my patrons from all around the world for patronizing the channel, particularly in the arse season. They absolutely definitely keep me going, keeping me motivated to keep creating and not kind of go on a summer hiatus. But of course, thanks so much just for watching and maybe leaving a like and maybe sharing the video, and I hope to see another Eurovision analysis video very soon. Goodbye. Blah, 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 blah.